Today we're going to recap the story of the 2023 movie, Spy Kids, Armageddon. Patty and Tony are two special agents whose mission is to break into a cave and stop a guy called the King from starting Armageddon. In order to stop the end of the world, they need to use their magnetic boots to reach the control panel while trying to go unnoticed by the guards. Once there, Patty sends Bronson to guard the corridors while she and her brother try to stop the countdown to the apocalypse. If nothing is done, the whole world will be threatened in the next 15 seconds. So the pair decide to change their strategy and both make it to the elevator before being captured by a giant monster. However, at that moment, they end up falling through a trap door and, if they are discovered, their entire mission could be compromised. The day before they broke into the cave, the two siblings were at home with their parents, who are real spies, and Tony tried to break the rules so that he could play video games before going to school, as he is completely passionate about games. As well as protecting the planet, the couple need to ensure that their children live as normal children, but Nora wants to tell the children the truth and reveal that she and her husband are special agents. That morning, she manages to convince Terrence that this is the best decision and the couple decide to reveal their secret. Just then, the school bus honks in front of the house and the man is relieved that he doesn't have to have this conversation with his children at that moment. When the children leave, the couple go to work and Devlin tells the agents their next mission. A group of strangers infiltrated the top-secret server room of the OSS, the organization the couple works for. So they need to pay a visit to the office to catch the invaders and find out what they're up to. After taking down the villains, Terrence investigates the laptop they were using to hack into the network and must defeat the Heck Knight in a game to gain access to the secret data. Since he's not very skilled with video games, the man decides to use Armageddon to break into the security system and discovers that those guys were just bait to lure the spies and allow the giant robot to steal Terrence's watch. After taking possession of Armageddon, the Heck Knight escapes and the couple must find out what he plans to do with the code he stole. What they don't know is that the robot is the character in a new game called High Score, which Tony has just won after winning a card tournament at school. The creator of High Score is an extremely wealthy man called Ray Kingston. The tycoon is completely obsessed with the game and has become known as the King, which is his username. Ray needs the Armageddon code to carry out his greatest project and force people to become good. However, the Knight informs him that the code could not be traced through the watch, so the King comes to the conclusion that what he is looking for is in the agent's house and says that he will hack into the family's security system that night. Hours later, while the children leave their rooms to play, Nora and Terrence discuss the possibility of deleting the Armageddon code, because if it falls into the wrong hands, the whole world will be in danger. However, Devlin forbids them to do so and orders them to continue protecting the code, as it is the greatest weapon his agency possesses. Since she can't convince her husband to destroy the code he himself created, Nora decides to erase it and do it herself. However, when Armageddon was about to be destroyed, Ray hacked into the system via the game and managed to steal it. When he realizes what has happened, Terrence goes to find the children, as he believes they were responsible for putting the system at risk. However, Tony manages to fool him and goes to sleep as if nothing had happened. The next morning, the family receives the news that people all over the world are being forced to play games in order to carry out simple everyday tasks. Reports show that people are being locked in and out of their cars and smart homes and are forced to overcome the challenges of a game, even to use their credit cards. At that moment, the villains of High Score invade the family home and the couple must defeat them while Patty tries to open the door. As they try to escape, they see zombie skeletons coming out of the pool and destroying all the family's possessions. Furious, Nora plans to attack the creatures, but Terrence takes his wife and the children to safety. Now that they can no longer hide the truth from their children, the couple decide to reveal that they are special agents and the children are amazed to discover that their house is full of secret passageways and technologies. When they arrive at the garage, the two siblings get into an autopilot vehicle that will take them to a hideout and Nora hands Patty a necklace. The woman and her husband will need to stay behind to prevent the zombie skeletons from reaching the children, so Nora asks her daughter to keep the necklace around her neck at all times so she can track them down. After escaping, the children begin to be chased by other villains in the game and their autopilot is hacked. To prevent them from being captured, Tony decides to switch the vehicle over to manual control and Patty manages to get rid of the villains. Their next mission is to lead the people astray so that they don't follow them to their hideout. When they arrive at the location indicated by the GPS, the children realize that their parents have sent them to the wrong place, as there is nothing in the forest. However, they soon discover that there is a cave under the lake and are greeted by a hologram of their mother, who shows them every corner of the hiding place. As well as food and comfortable beds to sleep in, the two siblings have access to spy equipment and a training room so they can learn how to look after themselves. While the pair are exploring their new home, Terrence and Nora are inside a cell and everything indicates that they are about to fall into a trap. Upon entering the next room, the couple meet Ray and the game's creator invites them to sit down for a chat. After settling into his throne, Terrence questions Ray and asks why he wants to use the Armageddon code to force people to play video games. At that moment, the man reveals that his plan has always been to influence people to make better decisions in life and now he can do it. The idea was that Armageddon would allow Ray to control devices all over the world, but that didn't happen. So he plans to force the couple to help him fix the problem and challenges them to a sword duel. If they win, they'll be free, but if they lose, they'll have to fix the code. During the battle, Ray discovers that the missing part to complete Armageddon is with the children and manages to steal Nora's tracker. He is then able to locate them. Meanwhile, Patty and Tony continue to investigate every corner of the hideout and find a spy suit generator. When he enters the machine, the boy gets a special suit and his sister decides to do the same. Now, they must prepare to face any danger that comes their way and use the training room to hone their skills as secret agents. After a long afternoon of training, the pair devour a bowl of cereal and Patty meets Bronson, a robot crab who becomes her new best friend. It's been a few hours since the pair separated from their parents and Patty comes to the conclusion that everything that's happening on the planet is their fault, because they allowed the king to hack into their home computer through the game. So the young people decide to make amends and save the world from the apocalypse. Suddenly, a group of secret agents appear and claim to be their parents' work colleagues. However, Tony remembers that his mother advised them not to trust anyone, so the children decide to attack them and use the traps their parents planted in the hideout to defeat the invaders. Patty is hiding when Bronson approaches and hands her a grenade. The girl then throws the bomb at her enemies and, after the explosion, they become hungry. While the agents devour everything in sight, the children take the opportunity to escape from their hideout, but end up being captured by Devlin. At this point, the pair discover that these guys are real spies and end up being taken to the OSS. Meanwhile, the villains of High Score are watching them from afar and are frustrated to see their targets being taken away in a strong car. When they arrive at the company's headquarters, Patty and Tony find one of the only OSS vehicles that hasn't been hacked and Devlin tells them that his agency's entire system has been blocked for the last 12 hours. Because of this, they need the children's help to beat a stage in the video game and allow the spies to access the system again. Now that all the agents are online, Patty frees Bronson and Devlin discovers that he has the other half of the code. If Ray manages to steal this piece, he'll be able to infect every device in the world with his virus and become king of the planet. Upon hearing this, the children come to the conclusion that the king is the one behind all the chaos, but FBI broke into his studio that morning and couldn't find him. So the man uses Patty's necklace to track down his agents who have been captured and manage to find Ray's location. At that moment, all the lights in the agency go out because the base has just been attacked. When the villains break in, the girl takes half of the code so that their enemies can't find it, but Devlin doesn't trust the child to be able to protect it and takes the key from her hand. Suddenly, the Heck Knight appears and steals the agent's code, so the children decide to use the spy boat to go after him. When the villains dive with their submarines, Patty orders Bronson to activate air mode and the trio flies directly to Ray's hideout. Minutes later, they arrive on the scene and are about to crash into a wall. However, they soon discover that it's all just an illusion and manage to get through the portal unharmed. After landing, the pair use their glasses to unravel the architecture of the cave and discover that the entire hideout is covered by a system of holograms. Meanwhile, the couple remain trapped in their cell and Nora tries to find a way to escape to find her children. When questioned about how to destroy that code, Terrence decides to tell his wife the truth and tells her that he wasn't the one who created Armageddon. The man was working on this project, but when he reached a certain point he couldn't go any further. Then, one day, Tony broke into his office and accidentally unveiled the last piece that was missing to create it. From that day on, the boy was forbidden to use the computers in his house, and he never knew why. Having always been a big fan of games, Tony believed that Armageddon was nothing more than a video game and had no idea that he was creating the most powerful weapon on the planet. After downloading the map of the cave, the little ones hear some footsteps and have to hide from Ray's henchmen. Then the king appears and the children discover that Armageddon is almost complete. Through their glasses, the pair can see that the villains are actually just robots who, at that moment, can detect the presence of the intruders. When the monsters are about to catch them, the youngsters decide to jump and use a hook to hold onto the bridge while the robots leave. After losing them, Tony and Patty rush to the prison, where they find their parents and finally manage to free them. When they discover that their children have been able to find them, the couple feel extremely proud, but their happiness is soon replaced by great concern, as there are only 6 minutes left before the king uses Armageddon to control devices all over the world. So the group decides to split up and the couple goes to ask for help from the OSS while the children have the mission of stopping the apocalypse, since they are the only ones with magnetic boots that allow them to walk around the place without being seen. However, since they can't access the control panel, the two siblings have to head for the elevator and end up falling through a trapdoor, where they find the central computer. Looking at those codes, Tony recognizes them and realizes that he himself created them. So, by doing the reverse process, he ends up activating Armageddon instead of stopping it. At that moment, his parents appear escorted by the villains and Terrence discovers that, even with the missing piece, Ray was unable to use the code. Only Tony, the true creator, could activate the weapon's full potential, so the king set up a fake countdown to force the boy to do the job for him. Before continuing with his plan, Ray tells him that Vargos, the supervillain the couple managed to stop years ago, was his father. The man was a genius who used his technology to improve the country. However, despite having good intentions, Vargos used the wrong means to finish his plans. Then, instead of helping him to use his gift for good, OSS agents broke into his laboratory and destroyed his entire creation. They then sent the scientist to a top-secret prison, where he spent the rest of his life. Now, Ray intends to continue the project that his father started and guarantees that he will make the world a better place through high score. After getting the final piece of his puzzle, the king escapes in his capsule and the family finally regains their freedom. But now it's too late, because every device in the world has already been infected by the Armageddon virus. However, Patty believes that there is still a way to beat Ray and says that if they use the virtual reality modules to infiltrate the game, they can defeat the creator. When they reach the game room, the family is surprised by Ray's robots, but Patty uses her grenade to stop them from attacking. At this point, the quartet take their seats and are teleported into the game. They soon discover that they have been taken directly to the final stage, which is the most difficult to win. The first step will be to reach the giant statue to find the king, and to do so, the four of them have to fight off the zombie skeletons that are blocking the way. During the battle, Nora and Terrence discover how to use their characters' powers to defeat the villains and help their children defeat the enemies before time runs out. After eliminating the skulls, Patty's character evolves and becomes even stronger. Now that they've reached the statue, the group must overcome the final challenge and defeat the king, but only one player can enter the arena to face him. So, being the better player, Tony decides to take on Ray in this duel while the rest of the family must defeat the Heck Knight. In this battle, whoever is able to zero out their opponent's life first will be the winner, and Ray is confident that no one can beat him in the universe he himself designed. Suddenly, the platform they are standing on collapses into a river of lava and Ray uses his staff to knock the boy down. After eliminating the skulls, the trio finally reaches the knight's arena and, with a single blow, Terrence is thrown away. While Nora goes to rescue her husband, Patty uses her powers to attack her opponent, but the knight manages to block the girl's attacks with his sword. After almost being crushed, Patty is pushed away and is about to fall off a cliff when her enemy approaches and the rock collapses. Just then, her parents show up to help the girl and Terrence ends up saving the Heck Knight. In gratitude for this act of kindness, the warrior decides to dedicate his loyalty to that family and the trio manages to escape alive. There are only 2 minutes to go and everyone is worried about Tony. The boy has a great responsibility because the future of the entire planet is in his hands. Seeing his son in danger, Terrence decides to help him, but in doing so he is breaking the rules of the game. If his blow hits Ray, victory will go to the villain. So Tony decides to use his own body to stop the attack and loses almost all his life. So, with a single push from his enemy, the boy is defeated and the king celebrates his victory. At that moment, Tony unlocks a mythical ability called One Hit and, with a single blow, zeroes out his opponent's life. Now that he has lost the duel, Ray must keep his word and stop Armageddon. However, he believes that if he does this, the world will never become a better place. On hearing this, Tony manages to convince the game's creator to inspire people to be better versions of themselves instead of trying to force them to live by his rules. Touched by the boy's words, Ray decides to appoint him as the new king and Tony uses his powers to end Armageddon. After successfully completing the mission, all players are sent back to the real world and discover that they have made new friends. When the entire threat has been neutralized, OSS agents show up to arrest Ray, but Patty claims that, according to the spy manual, she and her brother are responsible for the prisoner's sentence, since they were the ones who managed to defeat them. As a result, Ray is condemned to be trapped inside his own lair until he finishes his own game, so that he has a chance to rethink his attitudes and become a better person. Thanks to their children, Terrence and Nora realize that there is a better way to fight evil and discover that there is still a lot to learn in order to become great spies. On that day, the couple decide to end a 2-decade cycle as OSS agents and inform their boss that they are leaving his agency. Upon hearing this, Devlin states that he will also adopt some changes from that day forward and begins destroying the Armageddon code. With the promise that things will be different from now on, the couple decide to give the OSS another chance, and the children are also hired to work as spies alongside their parents. 6 months later, the family receives a report on their mission and discovers that the whole world has returned to normal. In addition, during this period, Ray decided to abandon villainy and began to follow in his father's footsteps, helping people through his technology. So what did you think of this movie? Leave it in the comments below. And if you liked the video, like and subscribe for more movie recaps.